one of the things that I wanted to do is to put that out there, put that thought out there in everybody's mind. How much does it cost? And we're just going to pick New Jersey, the state of New Jersey, to incarcerate someone for 1 year. And I just kind of looked that up, and it's about between $53,000 and $56,000 per year per inmate. And if the inmate leaves jail with a some type of drug abuse habit, it takes another $50,000 a year in terms of rehabbing that particular person. So we're up to $100,000, and we're speaking round numbers. Then I went over and looked at how much does it cost to educate a person at the state school, Rutgers University. And that tuition for 1 year is $15,000 for one student. So I'm just kind of doing the math. So that means I could educate a student and give them a 4-year ride or longer, complete, and still would not bust the bank of $100,000. So it begs the question is, why are we spending so much money on incarceration? Because just from a financial point of view, it doesn't make sense. But we also know it doesn't make sense socially and politically either. So I'm an educator, been educated for 55 years. And I wanted to call the community together to kind of answer or debate some of these questions. And today we got Brother Abdul and Brother Douglas joining us, amongst others, Brother Malik, to kind of weigh in on this question. And Brother Abdul, I want you to, he has a very unique skill set, and I don't want to tell you, but I want Brother Abdul to tell you a little bit about himself, and then I will come back in. Brother Abdul. Brother Abdul, are you on? Okay.
Unmute yourself, Brother Abdul. We can't hear you.
We can't hear Brother Abdul. All right, Brother Douglas, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brother Douglas, just give everyone a quick rundown on this brother. This brother here is a living legend. And we go back to the early days, back during those times, neither him or I had gray hair. But he's a very powerful brother. He's been in the struggle. He's familiar intimately with the problems of incarceration and education of people in the cities. So let me kick it to you, Brother Douglas. What do you think? We're still debating this problem that we was debating. This issue was debating over 50 years ago. What's going on with the incarceration? Why is it that Blacks make up the minority in America, but we make up the majority in the prisons? Brother Douglas.
Yes, sir. First, so glad to be on this platform with you, my brother. You're looking like my cousin Frederick.
Thank you for that.
you know, since our days, I go back to my days when we used to conversate on Rutgers University campus. And recently I've been quoting what Dr. King told us over 50 years ago. Two of the most dangerous things on the planet is sincere and conscientious stupidity.
Yes,
and
sir.
it seems like all races are suffering from that. Our race in particular need to check themselves and begin to come out of that syndrome. But we've been culturally conditioned. Like I spoke up in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, a school meeting where the superintendent asked for staff to come and just explain their concerns. And I got up and told them, I said, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in the Deep South. People still tell me how in the hell I got to Rutgers University from Tobacco Road in Deep South, Georgia. But I said, that's not your business. I'm here. But I told them, because we've been having a lot of gun violence down here, just like everywhere in America. But it's been very bad here in the last just 1 to 2 weeks of teens being shot. And I got up and told them that, the governor of Georgia passed a law this year, allowed damn near anybody to tote a gun without any compliance or anything. So all of a sudden, seems like all of these teens start toting guns.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this sounds like a genocidal strategy that these folks been planning on us for years. And I said, maybe somebody's probably supplying our teens these guns because they know we've been so culturally conditioned to hate each other. And they are putting this instrument in their hand to just progress that hate towards each other. And it's very scary. It's very frustrating. And
so let me Brother Malik, what's your response to what Brother Douglas said? Brother Malik?
Yes, sir. Again, thanks for having me here. I graciously appreciate being here. I think it's an excellent conversation and one that needs to be had. So regarding the response, so listen, it's been stated, not just this year or within the recent past, but going all the way back to the 60s, that guns and drugs were put on our streets to help aid us in doing the damage to our own communities. And we've seen that perpetuated time and time again. So, whether it's systematic or driven by racist motivating factors, we can argue that, but the flip side of that is, what are we going to do about it? So that's where the education comes in. My background isn't necessarily education, but I have kids in the school system. And, we have to be a part of that. I remember a gentleman by the name of Dr. Jawanza Jufu, who was very popular back in the 70s, 80s, who advocated for providing schedules for your children. And when you don't provide schedules for your children, that perhaps they'll create their own schedule.
That's right.
I recall him saying something along the lines of, if you don't give them a schedule, they may make a schedule for themselves that you don't like.
Right. So is Sister Clark on? Sister Clark? Okay, maybe not.
Hi, yes, I just had a question or kind of a statement.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, being a single mom raising a Black boy, you know, I really focus on education and making sure that he is staying on top of his studies to ensure that he doesn't become a statistic or a person that is incarcerated. So what do you guys think about that? The pipeline from not having education to the prison system.
Brother Douglas, you want to weigh in on that real fast?
That pipeline is definitely still existing, and we need to find solutions. Like you made the example of, you can educate a student at Rutgers for 15,000 versus, I think you said 53,000.
Right.
Being incarcerated. And I'm still frustrated over the fact that after leaving Rutgers over 40 years ago, and still here in 2023, Rutgers is still, I guess, maybe 90+% predominantly white. And especially in Newark, Rutgers, the Black population of students is probably still less than 5%.
Right.
There's no reason for that. And I still think that we need to demand that those percentages change, and change with a quickness. But we got to demand it. You know.
So you're saying that the pipeline can be broken through an assertive effort pointed at education, and
exactly.
And sure those gateways are open, pathways are open for us.
Exactly.
Brother Malik, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, again, you give them, make them accountable, first of all, make your children accountable. That's number one. Number two, get involved with the kids and get the kids involved and give them a schedule. So what do I mean by a schedule? That part of that schedule could be a STEM program. You know, you don't know what may trigger their motivation to become educated until you expose them to things. You know, whether it's art, you know, there's different sorts of arts as well, including martial arts. But you know, you have visual arts, you have other types of, you know, arts. Then you have, I'm a trades person, so you know, you have the trades, working with their hands and so forth, electrical, carpentry, plumbing. They can make real, you know, great careers out of those trades. And again, the educating by way of the trades is significantly less as well. You know, even less than can be less than the education of the formal school like a Rutgers. Yeah, so you got to keep them busy so that they don't have time to fall astray, and you know, pique their interest. Once you find whatever their interest is, exploit that and let them excel in that area, and that will work for itself, because they once they find something they want to gravitate to and they're excited about, they're going to run to it.
All right, let me ask this question. Do we need prisons? Do we need prisons? Malik, since you're up, let me throw that at you. You think we need prisons? And I know that's a loaded question, so
that's significantly. Listen, for extreme situations, I would say yes, but for petty crimes, which we often are trapped into, you know, I would say no, absolutely not. You know, sometimes the kids are coming from fatherless homes. You know, that's a whole nother scenario. And particularly our boys. You know, our boys don't see themselves reflected. They don't see light type images in the school systems. So therefore they're bucking for various reasons, you know. So not only don't they see men teaching, but they definitely don't see Black men teaching. You know, so when they begin to resist, if they don't have other schedules or other things that is keeping them occupied, they may fall astray and, you know, you lose them to the streets. So, and, you know, with the war on crime, so to speak, when others view us, they only see us as criminals. They don't, oftentimes, people outside of our communities don't see the difference between a Kareem or Brother Douglas or myself or Abdul, different from the people who are peddling drugs or people who are robbing and that sort of thing. And even if they're peddling drugs or robbing, I got friends that, you know, I grew up with that, look, they turn their life around, you know, and, you know, when we were teenagers, you know, they were stealing cars or robbing people straight up, you know, for gazelles back in the day, or Kango hats and bomber coats, you know. But at some point they stopped, or they saw someone else go get run through the system, and they stopped. They turned their own life around, you know.
So let me say that is Nzinga on? Is Nzinga? You on?
I'm on.
Okay, so let me throw this at you. So ultimately then, where does the responsibility lie? Who do we hold responsible for our children? Do you understand my question?
The village is responsible
Yes.
first, but the village as a whole, you know, the village is responsible. All right. If it, you know, it used to be that we would snatch up the young boy, whether it was your son or a neighbor's son. All right. Or whether or not, and I recently had to do this a month ago. This school year, my son, one of his friends, you know, and listen, we, the village is responsible. Other communities teach their children. Other communities school their children. Our community used to school our children. We have become afraid to step in and school our children.
So, Brother Douglas, so why is it now, if you agree with Brother Malik and Sister Nzinga, why is it that we are now afraid to school our own children?
Well, I don't necessarily think that we are afraid. I think that the school system itself has to be concerned about wanting to have Black men in schools. I don't see that concern from school districts. I can give you a perfect example. I work in an elementary school. I'm a teacher assistant. My principal at the beginning of the year changed my position from special education, because I was working with special education kids, and to pre-K class, dealing with preschool kids. And the impact that other teachers saw when I moved over there in that area, that I had just myself amongst the students, they were really impressed. But we gotta give a Black man some incentives to want to go into school and help. First of all, we gotta give a man a decent salary. That should be the first request that we need to make. I'm quite sure we got enough good men out here that will work in a classroom in a school if you provide them with a decent salary, just like you need to provide all teachers with a decent salary. We are the most valuable people on the planet. And we damn near are the poorest people on the planet. Don't make sense in this so-called America.
So what you're saying is that the economics is a major barrier for recruiting, particularly African-American men into education.
Exactly.
Sister Kenyatta, are you still on? Okay, maybe not. So, Brother Malik, in turn, so how do we, again, I said, if economics, if we're saying that economics is a major barrier for bringing Black men into education, so how do we do that? What's the workaround, Brother Malik?
I don't know the workaround. I'm not going to say I have the answers. I mean, obviously, we're taking broad strokes, right? But I will say this. I never had a Black male teacher, all right? And thus far, my son went into the 9th grade this year. He's never had a Black male teacher. So if we're not seeing those images in front of us, we're obviously not going to strive to be, all right? So now, you know, we have to see the value of it. We have to learn and understand the value. And by not seeing it, I don't think that it's going to be something that would jar within them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, now if they walk if they walk around the school and they see the person pushing the broom of African descent or, you know, of Hispanic descent, we might wind up ascribing to that, but you know, no one wants to be that. So what do they want to be? They want to be pro-athletes, right? They see that on television, all right? But everyone can't be a pro-athlete, all right? So if they don't have a backup plan, what does the backup plan become? The backup plan without a backup plan, or without a plan, so to speak, they succumb to other positions.
All right,
Can I interject into that?
Yeah, go ahead,
into that. I think, well, there's a new fad going around where we are getting into financial literacy, where we have YouTube stars and podcasters telling us about financial literacy and how to do things now. So there's one called EYL, there's one called Recession Proof, a couple of different things. So I think how we combat it is we have to create the culture, which the culture is there now, but we have to create those cultures in each part of, especially this country. I mean, everywhere, but a part of the culture in this country. It is cool now to have financial literacy in certain circles. It's costing, and we don't have it in the schools. It's more so the adults that lost their jobs during the pandemic that's trying to find their way. And I'm one of them. You know, I worked in Education American Institute, and I lost my job during the pandemic. Fortunately enough, I have my own business, but what I recognized that shift, that the superstars became these EYL, Earn Your Leisure is what that stands for, and these podcasters. So that's the new thing. We're shifting from being able to do work to being able to make money online. It's a good and bad thing because you can make a lot of money. But I think the culture has to grow into that. And the parts of the culture that hasn't grown into that is the music. I think it is the, we used to go out to parties and everything. And like, that's a part of our culture and it's all cool and everything. And I think we don't have any networking parties about growing financially and building economics and group economics. So I think if we start to create a cool culture around it, that'll help change the mindset. And then now we can start implementing these classes and courses. Well, that's another thing, having a place to just have those conversations about credit cards, how to buy a house, and all these different things. Like, I did a lot of searching for that. And I think more people want to know. It's just not as cool yet, or it's not in our culture yet.
So let me throw this at you, Brother Will. So not knowing these things, does that actually add fodder to the fire in terms of stoking a incarceration down the road? In other words, if I don't know how to make money online, if I don't have the education to make money, how about if I steal this car and sell it to a third party to make money? So it becomes, you're still doing the entrepreneurial thing, but you're still making money. You're still making your way. It's illegal, and that winds up it winds you up in prison. But
Right.
my question to you is that, do you think the car thief, I'm talking about people who steal cars, and the young brothers have organized themselves, they're just not stealing cars. They're stealing cars and they're selling them.
Right.
But do you think if they had this entrepreneurial mind that's turned to the criminal side, could we be able to captivate that kind of mind and, like you said, channel them into the online money making kind of thing? Is that kind of thing possible, or is it? What do you think?
I think it's beyond possible. So within this subject, I have a brother that's incarcerated. He's been incarcerated for a long time, and he's gotten his associates and bachelor's, working on his master's degree now. And I'm a product of the same environment as him, and I went the other direction by seeing what he did. Their ability to navigate the world is far more experienced than the average person going to a regular school, and even college a lot of times. The thing is, they don't have a direction in order to use their powers and their abilities earlier in life. And so they go into the wrong direction because I need those new sneakers to be cool. I need to fit in. And in order to fit in, I need this money, because the culture is, fascist culture. It's a culture like, I have more than you. I look better than you because I own this, or whatever it might be. I have more worth. And because of that, they run off and go do these crimes where they had the ability to not only make these monies, but build credits or build business credit, something I'm learning about. And you can get free money just doing so many different things and build the type of structure that you need for your life to buy a house or to live off the land or any of those things. So if we give those people one of the education tools, just one, they will do way more than what we can do with it. They have the charisma, they have the ingenuity, they know how to network. It is because they stole the car. You have to be almost a genius to get inside these cars. They stole the car.
Right.
So that's already showing you could be a mechanic, you could be you could be all types of different things, because you just learned how to break into something that it took engineers years to build. And they focused on keeping you out, and you still beat them. And they got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep you out, and then you still beat them with $1 screwdriver.
Right.
So, and then they had to find the right people to work with in order to get rid of this vehicle.
Right. So they had the network.
They had the network. They had to drive, and most of them don't have a driver's license.
Right.
They never took a driver's course.
Right.
Their brains work far ahead of ours. It just
Right.
needs structure, or it needs the education to say, hey, you can put that same energy here and actually do a lot more.
Let me ask the group this and kind of link all this together in terms of a solution. Okay. We have a problem with getting Black men to teach, getting them into the school system. We have a problem of getting young Black men and older Black men economically sound. And we have another problem. Brother Abdul, you're back. Okay, good.
Yeah, all right, cool, man. I'm glad, bro. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm waiting till you get a break in there, because I got things to say too, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna, folks, I'm going to stop where I was going, and so that Brother Abdul can get in. And just to bring you up to speed, Brother Abdul, we've been exploring some of the problems that that we're facing in terms of incarceration and education. So, Brother Abdul, I want you to come on and kind of tell something about yourself and where you have been and where you are now. You have to unmute yourself. I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right, cool. No, not to get all off onto me, I'm one of the baby boomers, man, born in the late 40s, Essex County, high school, 65, on to college, Vietnam era, all that. Even though I didn't go to Vietnam, my people were more political than allowed me to go into that bull crap. But at any rate, enough about me at the moment. We can get back to that, but a lot of issues were touched on earlier, and some things were skirted around the edge, man, instead of cutting to the meat of it. You know what I mean? We're here for a reason. First of all, it started off with like, why is it that as Black people, not even talking about Native Americans and Latinos and Asians and all, but just Black people, we're only like something like perhaps 18% of the population in this country. And we're like, what, close to 80% in the prison system? First of all, we got to recognize that the prison system is the modern day slave ships. That most of them brothers of ours and sisters of ours that are in the slammer, most of them, their middle name is Kunta Kinte. Now, first of all, we got to understand that why is this happening? We got to understand the capitalist system. We're talking all this crap about, oh, well, Black people got to make more money, blah, 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 all this. People are forgetting the Harlem Renaissance, forgetting the ingenuity of criminals in this country, of the mob, of Black people that had to go out and break this off, of people like Nicky Barnes, people like that, man, that had to make money, man, that did it. But here's the thing, it ain't just about making money. If you ain't got that spiritual side, then you're gonna be off kilter. You can have $1 million a day coming in, but if you wind up to be like a cracker like Donald Trump, then what's that about? If you don't have that spiritual side, then you'll be like people in this country when the stock market fell 93 years ago, whatever it was, 1929 or whatever. Some people said, hey, I got to pull myself up and get out here and make $1. Some people said, hey, I'm taking the elevator to the top floor, the tallest building in New York City. I'm gonna have a drink or whatever that stuff is they drink and dove off the roof because they couldn't see life without $1 in their pocket. It twisted them. Know why? Because they worshiped that dollar and they didn't have that spiritual balance. That's what that was about. So you talk about, hey, people, teachers got to make more money, blah, blah, blah. Kids need to have more money in their pockets, so. If you don't have that value system, that's going to come back and cut you. That's going to be like a knife that should be over here cutting your food and you're stabbing yourself with it. All this crap about, hey, yeah, man, hey, Black kids down North Carolina, man, they all got guns. Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
All right, brother
So,
Abdul.
no, listen, man, hold on. I'm gonna get off this, man. But one more thing, people got to understand, man, that this capitalist system, the reason there are more prisons in this country than all the prisons on the planet Earth, man, is because we live in the most racist country in the history of the planet Earth. And another thing, there's a difference between education and learning. A person, man, could go to school, learn, hey, read page 1 through 10. We're gonna have a test tomorrow, so. But if that parent is not teaching them about learning, about their culture, where they came from, what the road looks like, if that kid cannot be optimistic about the future, then that education, man, just puts them in a corner. They wind up being Mother Hubbard's, man, like Clarence Thomas. You know what I mean? They wind up being people, man, like, that don't even give a damn.
Brother Abdul, I'm gonna have to cut you for 1 second. All right, so I'm trying to sum everything up. So your thing is the loss of spirituality and value system, and that has led us down to this road. And not until we return to spirituality and create a positive value system will this thing cease. Now, okay. All right. So now let me say this, bro. You're muted. Let me say this. Right now, we are facing perhaps one of the most serious junctures in education. Okay, the whole trajectory have changed. We're switching to a whole online program, and I'm not sure. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the quality of students that's being developed here. I'm not sure the teachers, the students, or the parents is going along with this change. And let me tell you, and I'm gonna throw this out as a question. Right now, the mathematical illiteracy in this country for both Black, white, minority students is at an all-time low. And to get a doctor and to train a doctor, a teacher, engineer, it takes about, to educate them, it takes about 20 years. I'm talking about from grade school, high school, college, graduate school. It takes about 20 years. So if we're having a shortage, and I'm talking, looking at it, if there's a shortage of these teachers, okay, right now, then what does the future look like in 10 years? Okay, what does it look like in 10 years? So what are we doing now? I'm talking about as parents, as teachers, as community members, to offset what's coming down the pike. And I'm telling you now that there's not going to be enough teachers in 10 years, even at the college level. And the level of training that teachers are getting right now, when I started teaching, you had to teach with a veteran teacher for 2 years. You had to stay on that teacher for 2 years. Now they're coming out of school, and because there's a lack of teachers, they just put them right in the classroom. So what do you think? And where I was going with it before is, if we have a teacher that wants to go into education, and we have an electrician like Brother Malik, and groups of electricians say, look, man, we know you're making $45,000, but we need you to stay in education because you're a positive influence. So we're going to supplement your salary. We're going to throw another $30,000 in it. to your salary. Is that, would that be a solution, or once a type of a solution, so we can link all members of the community together? The concerned community member, the tradesman, the college graduate, the teacher, the entrepreneur. Because this problem is not going to be solved unless we solve it. So is that kind of thing along the way of solving those kinds of problems? Brother Malik, what do you think?
I think you'd be hard pressed to get people to give their money to others to do a job that they've been hired to do. That's my personal opinion. I know teachers, bro, that make upwards of $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. So right now I know there is a shortage. I've seen signs on back of buses in North. They're starting at 50 or 55, I think it was, something like that. So I'm not sure. Is that a solution? Well, is it practical? I'm not so sure it's going to be practical. Now, sometimes we have to provide or show that there is a pipeline to that destination if that's their goal. There's a pipeline to that goal. So to follow up on what Will was saying, all right, you steal the car. Some of them have gotten to the point that they stole the car, and instead of just selling it right off, they start parting, which also talks about their ability to multiply, that business. So yeah, you have teaching. It's to talk about what Abdul's to mention, piggyback on Abdul. You got to have balance. Yeah, I definitely agree. So the spiritual aspect of it has got to be strong, and that's going to come from the household. So I think everything goes back to the village. It goes back to the parents. The parents are the first teachers. The parents are the first teachers, and then the extended family or village is part of that support system. Okay, with couples, man. It used to be when the couple would have an issue, they go to the elders, right? Opposed to running to the court system. They go to the elders, and the elders would check them. If it's the dude, the brother would be checked by the elders. If it's the sister would be checked by the elders. Loss. That's what I think we're failing. I think we're failing with the nucleus of our families. That's what we're failing.
Is Nzinga, Sister Nzinga, are you still on?
I'm still on.
Okay, so what do you think about what Brother Malik said about it's the value system? It's up to the parents.
Yes, I agree. You have to have balance. Yes, and the family, the nuclear is important. And to me, my question to the group is, does education only looks like the public school system? There's many ways to educate. And I think one thing is sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have to support what's already there and make it stronger. So sometimes we use our talents and we use our energy to systems that don't support our community, which we don't look within, see what's there, and how can we strengthen what's already in place. So sometimes our ego has to be in check, or that recognition, and understand, bring our talents, and let's grow from there. And then understand too, that sometimes it's probably not meant for us to see the end goal, right? Or see the bigger picture, but to be a part of that journey, right? To be a part of that, okay, that outcome. So sometimes the patients have to be there, but most importantly, that structure and nuclear need to really be strengthened, and going back to that, because without it, I think Brother Abdul mentioned it, you can make all the money that you want, but remember, the wealth is within the people. The people is the wealth. So we have to remember that. So you can have all the systems, you can make all the money, but there will be no balance if you don't have that structure, that, you know, that support. I mean, you see, you know, stars that taking their lives, and on the outside they have everything, the house, it looks like, the money. So why are people taking their lives and they have all the money? So it's more than the money. So I do agree. And sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes things are already in place. We have to strengthen what's in place.
All right, brother. I see Brother Kasim Mincy. You say, Brother Kasim Mincy, what do you think about that? What Sister Nzinga said. Brother Kasim? Brother Kasim is, I guess. All right,
I have a few things. I do think that she's right. Going back to the original question, as far as maybe gathering a few dollars for teachers, I don't think gathering the money directly for them depends on, you know, what position they play and what they may bring, such as Coach Prime bringing all of the attention to the HBCU schools. He was an asset that they definitely should have poured more into, rather than allowing him to leave, because now the devastation that ends up happening is you're going to lose a lot because you had someone that brought a lot into the game. But what Nzinga was saying was definitely correct. What Abdul was saying was definitely correct. We had a particular staple where we had a place where, and we had family. We had the community, and family and the community intersected in the church or whatever the community building was. And I think that the churches is owning more and more buildings, but it's less and less community, right? Or we have a school where we can do maybe after school programs, but they're cutting those, or they're not paying this and not paying that. I know we need to make a paycheck as teachers, but a lot of people don't make enough to just maintain themselves as teachers. So they have second jobs or a lot of different things, but they're teaching because they want to. And they think that is their duty, that was one of the things for me. That's why I was teaching, was due to that. It wasn't about the money. Not saying that we shouldn't make more. I'm saying that we need to build, and I think the better teachers are the ones who are the experience. So as a community effort, it is our duty, and I think that we need to figure out a system to where we can teach, even if it's part-time, and it might not have to be at the school. It could be after work program or something like that, or like take your child to work day or whatever it might be. But we have to teach in some way, and that should be a form of I can't remember the word, community service, or I think that'll help bridge the gap, because if I know a lot about a certain thing and I can teach the next generation at a younger age, that helps build the community. And I meet more people like me, I would be able to build that community. And that's kind of what I did within the space that I created when I opened up my gallery. It wasn't a gallery just to show pretty artworks, but it was a space to educate and entertain at the same time. And I built a large community from that. And not only did I learn myself, but everyone else learned, and everyone else enjoyed it. First time I ever been in an art gallery, I opened it. First time.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because I'm ringing a bell, I'm ringing the alarm here. If and Brother Douglas, you can weigh on this in too. If a person spends 4 years in college,
mm-hmm.
To become a teacher, and another 2 years to get his master's. And he's starting out, and he's in $50,000-$60,000 worth of debt, student loans and whatever. And he's starting out with, an average teacher is starting out, they're not starting out with $90,000. The average teacher is starting out with 45, if they're lucky, $45,000. You got $100,000 worth of debt. You're starting out with 45,000. And now here's the parent. The parent wants the best teacher sitting in front of their child. But this best teacher is under financial stress. So he or she can't spread their wings. So what I'm saying to you, like it or not, if I believe, and I'm throwing this out there, if there's no way to rein in this whole financial demon, which is the elephant in the room, I am telling you, if teachers are not paid at least, and this might be pie in the sky, but so was the creation of Chad School. When we created Chad School back in the 60s, that was pie in the sky until it happened, till we made it happen. But I'm saying that if teachers are not paid at least $100,000 a year to start, the educational system in this country, you think it's collapsing now? It will totally disintegrate within 10 years. What do you think, Mr. Douglas?
I'm sorry, just to chime in really quickly, everybody, as a higher education practitioner, in the field, we are definitely catching the heat of it right now, right? It is already happening. And as someone, again, in the field, it is impossible because me and my colleagues talk about it all the time. My chairs for our department and so forth. We are seeing an increase in the drop in student enrollment, but specifically the numbers as it relates to African-American community regarding students finishing college, regarding students coming back to school, dropping out is alarming, right? And it all goes back to the finance piece, because most students will say, if I cannot afford to feed my family, what is, biology? If I can't afford to, go get gas, what is this math class, going to do essentially, right? Because at the end of the day, in theory, it's great, right? Everyone should have some type of, regardless if it's formal education or not, but there should be some type of, training, whether it's technical, non-technical, whatever you want to call it. But then it becomes, well, is higher education moving in a direction for people who have the means to sustain, right? And someone, I'm in the process, right, of applying for my PhD programs. And during the interviews, they tell you straight up, like, listen, don't apply to this program if you are not, financially going to be able to sustain, right? So how do you tell, right, the future educators, the future students who are supposed to be educating our students and putting all this trust in them, if they themselves, to Brother Pat's point, is stressed out, right? If they can't even eat. So how is it that the mission or the message can be continued? Thank you.
I think that the old saying, the best teacher is experience. This is an opinion, a strictly an opinion. I think the best teachers are the ones who are experienced. Not necessarily you're going to school to teach, but you've been through, or you've gone through, you've done these things within your lifetime, and now you're teaching it to the next generation. And before we had these education systems, yes, we did have to learn, but the structure of getting that master's, bachelor's degree just to teach someone something that you already know, or learn how to teach someone, basic arithmetic amongst other things. We were teaching people what we knew, and we learned from someone else, and it was passed down. So now we're getting into this debt because we're worried about a certificate in order to teach something that we have 10, 20 years experience in doing. So not everything is warrant to getting, because there's no way we can pay teachers, all teachers, 100,000, not in the way the system works as currently, but we can build our own infrastructure and be able to make sure that everyone's taken care of. Teamwork makes the dream work. And the only way to do that is if let's just use the church, just the church. The church normally owns multiple land and multiple buildings. That's normally, and they're tax-free. So as far as having an infrastructure to do things, to sell things or anything like that, those type of benefits can help us build the economy to actually take care of our teachers. It's where are we going to teach, how we're going to teach, who's going to teach, those particular questions. Well, if we look at the resources that we have, then we can create something that where we can take care of our teachers and still everyone else will still be okay. Like our teachers, if you're paying a whole bunch of money for rent, or you live very far away and the church owns the building right here, then why can't we take care of our teachers?
All right, Brother Will, I'm gonna have to cut you. We're just about at the end of our set. I want to encourage everyone to subscribe to the channel, Thinkeducation360. You have to subscribe to the channel. This is the second live stream. It's not going to be the last. I thank everyone for their insight and for their participation. I do have an ebook coming out in January. It's called Why Students Fail. So make sure I have your contact information so that I can make sure you get a copy of the ebook. So I thank you, Brother Abdul. I thank
Brother
you,
Kareem.
Brother Malik, Sister Kenyatta, Brother Kasim, Brother Douglas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank everyone for their insight and their participation. And this is not going to be the last meeting. So the community has met. We've discussed. And that's the start. That's the start of really making this thing happen. So I appreciate it. Thank you all so much. And I will be in touch.
Brother Kareem.
Yes, sir.
Is this getting ready to go off momentarily?